Hey guys, zoidbergenstein here with a series of videos chronicling NUC's journey from brand new World of Tanks team all the way to as far through the WGLNA as we can make it. In today's match against Refuse to Die, we're going to be playing 3 1390s against 2 1390s, 1 T69 against 2 T69s, and both teams are going to be running a Pershing. Now this comp gives us just a little bit more mobility with our 1390s being able to outmaneuver their T69s, but those T69s can get some really good hill control over us by taking a hull down position and trying to unload into our tanks. When playing Cliff, there are a couple of things that we've found to be very true. One is you have to work crossfires. We've tried setups where we place all 5 tanks in the same location. We've tried working tanks from one side on the other side and maybe working a flank. But what we found to be the most effective is setting up all your tanks across the southern side of the map so that when they push anywhere, we're going to have shots from a different tank that may not be spotted. And that's actually true on a lot of maps. If you look at our new strats on Prokhorovka, we're trying to set up so that some tanks will remain unspotted and have uncontested fire on other tanks. When you can execute a strategy like that, you're going to be far more successful than if you're doing something like a 5-tank push or just trying to play defensively and allowing them to come back into you. As we set up for our defense, we're going to push 1 tank out to the western side of this map, and 2 of our 1390s are going to stay on hill. We'll move our 2 T69s up to support the 1390s playing what we call the hill, and I'm going to peek up for shots. We found that it's very important to try and punish slower tanks, so I move my 1390 to position. I hope to find a T69, and I don't. Unfortunately, Lost peeks up a little bit too far, gets tracked, and he's going to go down without putting any damage out. Now, we're at a very significant disadvantage now. We've got 0 damage out against the other team, and we're already down 1 1390. At this point, we're really scrambling. We don't know what we can do here to be successful. We don't feel like we can push into them because they do have 5 tanks up. They've got 2 1390s, 2 T69s, and a Pershing. That means that not only do they have the autoloader spike damage to burn through at least 1 or 2 of our tanks, they've got the non-autoloader support to finish off whatever those autoloaders don't kill. We don't feel like we can just fall back into a defensive position because they're going to be able to push up onto the hill and shoot us, so we decide that we have to hold our ground on this hill and hopefully catch them in a mistake. As cheesy as it is, another one of our options is to try and play for draw. Where it's such a disadvantage not getting any damage out before a tank goes down, we really want to force them to do something before we make any decision. If they choose to not push us, then we may end up playing this for the rest of the 8 minutes, not doing any damage and just trying to survive. Do remember, in this preseason, a draw is worth 1 point, a loss is worth 0. A win is worth 3, so anytime you can play for the win, you absolutely want to go for it, but we just don't feel like at this point anything that we do to initiate is going to cause us to win. Looking at the map, you can see our crossfire. We have a T1 spotting on the west side, a T1 spotting far east. This is to catch their flanks in case they push into us. We have a T69 playing the position to guard my 1390, and a 1390 over on the west who did just get some damage out. He's over there for that specific purpose. Anytime they push their 1390 up, we're going to try and get shots on him and burn him down. We have a T69 playing farther back. He's actually just moved up to the hill, so that if they push over that hill, we have 3 tanks to intercept that. We have 1 tank crossfiring it, and hopefully we can burn a tank down as we retreat, and then have a 3 versus 4, or maybe even a 3 versus 3, depending on how they orchestrate this push. We're about to pick up a spot on the T1 on the east side. When we spot him, we decide that they're trying to set something up. Because that T1 is moving now and no longer just playing for spots, but rather scouting, trying to figure out where they can go, we're going to get set up to push on their push. Our hope here is that they're going to flank one way, give us an even fight on one side. We're going to be able to win that and hopefully set up in a position where we can win a second engagement. Because again, against 5 tanks, we just don't feel comfortable. I see that T69. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get a shot on him. I don't want to risk it and give up my cover unless I'm going to have a guaranteed hit, so I choose to just stay here, not take a shot, and wait for a better one. As I'm waiting for the better shot, the T69 is going to peek back out. I have a better idea of my angle here, so I'm able to line him up, put my crosshair where he's going to be. I take that shot, I'm able to get one in, and I immediately back to hard cover. Because I fired within that bush and it's closer than 15 meters, I have a feeling that I may still be spotted there. Now, I don't end up getting lit, which is great, but I do want to back to that hard cover immediately, just in case. Now, knowing that I haven't been spotted, he probably has a good idea where I am because he does get that damage indicator. However, he doesn't know exactly where I am, so I do feel comfortable staying here. I'm going to start looking for this 1390 backing up and down the hill. I try and put my crosshair over him, seeing if I can get any red light on maybe a little bit of that tank being exposed. I'm not able to, so I'm going to move back. You see us do something here that we're actually very bad about, and that's using some of the in-game communication features. We pinned the map there to show exactly where we're talking about. Instead of looking on the map and saying, okay, this is C8, and then the other people being like, okay, C8, where is that? We simply pin the map, and then everybody knows, oh, it's this giant flashing sector that we're talking about. Another thing that we need to get better at as a team is using the call for assistance. We call it Q spotting because we've played a lot of Battlefield, we've played a lot of PlanetSide, and in Q, that marks targets for other people to shoot at. In this game, we've actually rebound that to Q, so anytime we see a target we're shooting at, we definitely need to do a little bit better of that. We get a spot on a Persian and a T1 over here. Because that Persian is a non-autoloader, we think that they're simply T1 hunting to try and get some more map control. We end up spotting a 1390, a T69, and a Persian over there, so we know that we now have a 1390 T69 on the opposite side of hill, and we actually have a 4 versus 2 split. This is exactly the opportunity we've been looking for, so we hard push into these tanks with both 1390s not taking any time for the T69s to catch up, and we try and hard engage as we feel that these guys might be pushing into us. We do catch this T69 completely overexposed, and we're going to start putting as many shots into him as possible. We end up picking up this kill, and now we're going to try and move on to 1390. I'm tracked, and I have 1 shot left. Zuzi and Nafe are going to move in on that Persian T69 combo, and we have to make sure this 1390 dies. Once my track is back up, I move in with them. We get a couple early shots into this 1390, do a lot of damage, get that track out, and I'm just going to try and move past Zuzi and get that shot on him. As soon as I get that shot on the 1390, I'm going to try and get around hard cover, stay alive, but I get shot in the back, my engine's down, and I'm going to end up going down too. So we have a lot of blood here. We've got a dead 1390, we've got a dead T69 on the other team. Lost is already dead on our team, I've gone down, and we lose Zuzi. That leaves us in a 2 tier 8 versus 3 tier 8 situation. Nafe is left alive on his T69, Sarah's left alive on his 1390, and they have a Persian T69 and 1390 left alive right now too. That fight went well for us. It could have gone better. We would have liked to have escaped 1 more tank so that we could have a 3-on-3 here since we did start in a mismatch. But being down initially, we're happy with where we're at. We do try and set up this crossfire again. We're going to have Nafe fall back so that they have to push into him. Cero's in this fishmouth crossfire, and he's going to start putting shots into Anubis. Nafe's job here is to stay alive as long as possible, get some damage out with Cero, and allow Cero to finish up this kill. Cero does end up getting that kill, and now we've almost tied it up. We've got a full strength Cero with Nafe going down, and he's up against 2 weak tanks. He does have a couple shots left. He's able to get one into Have No Mercy. He tries to get another one. That one doesn't hit, but this is a very close round. He's now going to be in a reload, so he needs to escape, get out of there, and try and wait for that reload to finish before he engages again. The 2 tier 1 advantage that Refuse to Die has here is actually fairly large as well. They can push for cap if they kill Spanish with a 2v1 encounter. That means that Cero not only will have to watch out for 2 tanks, but he'll have to play to keep them off cap. Spanish does, however, manage to pick up a 1v1 win, kills the other T1, and now there's only 1 T1 left. We are not going to push Spanish for cap because, again, we don't want to make Cero go back and try and kill something off of our cap. If they get a T1 on there, Cero would have to do that. They can have 2 tanks watching him, and even though he can get a lot of shots out very quickly, and both these tanks are lower on HP, we don't want to make him do that. We would rather have him simply engage these other tanks. Now, Cero's main priority here is engage in an area where those tanks won't have a 2v1 on him. He pushes into where he thinks this T69 is going to be covering. He does actually find him, and he's going to start taking shots on him. He misses the first, lands the second, and now we have advantage again. We both have 1 tier 1 up. The difference is we have a full strength 1390, and they have a lower HP 1390. Cero manages to bounce that shot, knows where their 1390 is, and he's going to start cutting him off and keeping map control. Spanish finds the other T1, and again, it's important that Spanish is going to be able to get this kill. If Spanish doesn't get this kill, or at least prevent him from getting on cap, Refuse to Die can play a mismatch situation. They can move their T1 onto cap, they can leave him there and play their 1390 in a spot where Cero has to engage the T1, and then their 1390 can engage from behind. That's going to give that 1390 at least 2 to 3 free shots on Cero and level out that HP. With Spanish going big and winning 2 separate 1v1s against those tier 1 tanks, we can start playing aggressively. We're going to move Spanish towards the cap, Cero as well, but Spanish ends up getting shot by the 1390, and that ruins that plan. We do, however, know that that 1390 has fired twice. That leaves him with 4 shots in his magazine, which is still enough to kill Cero, but if Cero can dodge even one of those shots, Cero will win that engagement as the other tank will have to go into a reload for 40 seconds. Now, Cero knows this tank is over here, so he's going to start looking for him. We assume that since we don't have spot on him yet, he couldn't have gotten over to the east, so he must be down on this valley. One tempting thing to do here is roll right into that tank. So it does actually pick up the spot there. And like I was saying, it's very tempting sometimes to just roll into that tank down that hill right there. If he does that, that's going to give the other 1390 a couple free shots, and it's not going to be as effective. Sero takes a smart path, ends up rolling down the main hill here, and is going to line this tank up as he tries to escape, and he's just going to make sure he gets those shots in. Ends up only taking one, gets that kill, and we end up picking up a win against Refuse to Die in the Gold League Preseason. This match was actually the opposite of how a lot of our matches go. Oftentimes against better teams, we'll get off to a lead, but then we can't finish. We'll end up blowing our lead and losing to a comeback. We actually had the comeback this round, and the reason we were able to do that is patience. We knew that they had to push into us with an advantage, and we decided we were just going to wait until they did, and we were going to try and find an advantage. Once we found that advantage, we were able to capitalize it and come out of this with a win. And that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, follow the YouTube if you enjoy it, like the video, comment down there, ask any questions you have, follow my Twitter, and I've actually recently started streaming again. You can check that out at www.twitch.tv/zoidbergenstein, and if you want to see a lot more awesome, fun, light tank play, check out Sero's stream, www.twitch.tv/Sero, SERH0. I'll see you guys in my next match breakdown video.